Well, I should start by saying that I represent an electorate that's just lost 2,500 jobs in our auto manufacturing industry after the government moved away from industrial policy in that respect. So that's a bit of a raw wound for me. But I suppose if I have one question, I should retreat to my area of expertise in technology. And you know, I'm very passionate about technology. I love it. It's one of these industries that, you know, is disrupting industries and disrupting markets around the world. But it does worry me at the same time, because I very much agree with Wayne's comments about the strength of our industrial relations system and driving equality in Australia. But then I looked at the technology sector, and the biggest impact that it's had is in eroding transaction costs. So that the things that unite us, so it's atomised the industries that it's gone through. It's atomised employment in those industries. It's made a lot of industries more contestable to markets for employment and things like that. And I see that, and I worry about the potential for the industrial relations system that has served us so well to protect us in this new atomised employment environment. So I suppose I'd ask you, what kind of prescriptions can you suggest moving into that world? Do you buy that analysis to start with? Secondly, what can we do about it? And thirdly, does that mean we need to be looking more at sort of these pre-distribution type interventions? I mean, I'm particularly interested in intellectual property in this respect as a set of rules that determine who gains from investments in these sectors. Is this something we need to be looking at in this new world?
Yeah. These are really complex questions, but let me first make a couple of observations about the high-tech sector in the United States, and then talk a little bit about some of the specific questions. It is a real worry about whether the high-tech sector will create enough jobs. That I think that while it will create some jobs, there is a real worry about whether it will be enough. Just to give you one example, the largest capitalized firm in the United States today is Apple. But Apple has only 49,000 employees in the entire country, of which all but 19,000 are low-paid retail workers. So they're only not, when I say low-paid, probably lower than your minimum wage, or at your minimum wage. So they're really not what we call great jobs. And, you know, we say every job is good, but these are not the jobs that will create a middle-class society. So there are only 19,000 that would be categorized. That's not a basis of an economy. You know, an economy with 350 million people. What's particularly disturbing about Apple is that you took advantage, it wouldn't exist without the internet, without modern technology, perfectly willing to take from the technology, the technological investments the government have made, but totally uninterested in paying back. So it used all the ingenuity that it had used to make telephones with nice round corners, brilliant innovations, to avoid paying taxes.
Or to cut corners.
And to cut corners, exactly, to cut corners. Didn't do anything illegal. They have very good lawyers to make sure they don't go to prison, but taking advantage of every loophole in every country. So they claim that all this profits originated in a few hundred people in Ireland, and that they then happened to be able to take advantage of a loophole in Irish tax law, so they didn't even have to pay taxes in Ireland. So, I mean, I think it's a really moral scandal, and went on to recognize that. And I think it's important for the G20 to try to take strong actions to stop this race to the bottom, and the companies that are willing to take out, not to put back. The second point is from a global technology point of view. I mean, you look at where America has been most successful in technology, besides Apple, which has been, you know, Google, Facebook. What are the business models that they're based on? Advertising. We've created the most efficient advertising agencies in the world, and they've become the largest firms in the world. But you cannot have an economy that just advertises other people's products. You know, it's nice to have efficient advertising so that when you're driving, they can recognize your car and tell you what you ought to be buying. Or that when you walk by a store, your phone tells you, go in there and buy something. But the bottom line is, all this advertising doesn't increase productivity, doesn't even increase spending. It only says I spend more on this guy rather than that guy. Your spending is going to be limited to your income. So it's all, I don't want to say socially wasteful, but it's not really socially productive. So we have to understand that the innovation in our economy in the United States, for the most part, has not been really increasing our standard of living. It's been creating more, hard to know where you create social media in terms of standard of living, but not making things like better solar panels or new products that would change. Third thing, we're going through a structural transformation that's analogous to the transformation that we went through 100 years ago. 100 years ago, 70% of the people were in agriculture. 70% of people were in agriculture. Today, only 2%, 3% in the United States are in agriculture, and they produce more food than even an obese society can consume. And we had to move from agriculture to manufacturing. Markets don't do that very well, for a very good reason, that the people in those sectors see the value of their assets disappear. So they can't make the investments they need to move to the new sectors. And so they get trapped in the old sectors. And we're a little bit in that same situation, manufacturing. We're now moving from manufacturing to a service sector. People in the manufacturing with those skills are trapped and they can't go on to the new sectors. Now, the only thing that really facilitated that movement from agriculture to manufacturing was government. In the United States, it was the war, the GI Bill that educated everybody for the manufacturing economy, that moved the U.S. from a rural economy to a manufacturing economy. Without the government, it would not have happened. It was a kind of industrial policy. And now we're going to have to go from industrial manufacturing to a service sector. This relates to the question of productivity. Globally, we've been very successful in manufacturing, just like we were in agriculture. Output of manufacturing continues to go up, but globally, employment is going down. And advanced countries like the United States, Australia, are going to get, inevitably, even if they're the most efficient, are going to get a smaller share of that global employment. And so employment in manufacturing will go down. And then have to ask the question, where do you want to go? It can go down faster if you don't do the right policies. But the question is to try to have a smooth transition. Now, to give you an example, the United States saved the automobile industry. We're celebrating that. But we saved it in a way that converted what were good paying jobs, paying $45 an hour, to pay the wages now in the automobile industry are $15 an hour, are equivalent to your minimum wage jobs. We could have transformed the industry in some other ways to make it high tech, but we didn't do that. So the bottom line is that the new jobs are almost surely going to be in service sector. I mean, you have a huge demand for education, not only for Australians, but for Chinese and Indians, for health, there are lots of these service sector jobs that are not just domestic, which are export potential.